New Year's Eve. Brandon, my boyfriend of 3 years, invited me home to meet his parents. At dinner, he drugged my wine. Skylar, the gangsters, they'll chop my hands off if I don't pay up. I had no way out. I had to give you to him. Don't blame me. Blame your luck. You look just like his crush. It's win-win. I pay my debts, you get a wealthy life. Drugged and dazed, I was delivered by his family to gates I knew too well. The home of my uncle, Victor Thorne. Victor had always doted on Mom and me. The year my father laid a hand on her, Victor had him shipped to a remote African mine before sunset. I could barely imagine what Brandon was about to face. The tranquilizer hadn't fully worn off. I lay slumped in the backseat of the car, unable to lift even a finger. The voices of Brandon, Frank, and Carol Miller reached me as a muffled drone, distant and indistinct. Brandon and I had been together since college, straight through graduation. Ours was a stable relationship, one that had never faced any real turbulence. Just before the holidays, he'd looked so sincere, saying he wanted to take me home to meet his parents, to talk about marriage. Thinking I needed to make a good impression on his family, I'd spent days meticulously preparing. I bought a new cashmere coat, got my hair done, and brought 2 expensive bottles of wine and a stack of gift boxes. But after just half a glass of water Carol poured for me, my vision started to blur. Skylar, don't blame me, Brandon said, his face a mask of feigned grievance. I was truly backed into a corner with no way out. $5 million. How was I supposed to pay that back? They'll really chop off my hands. I wanted to curse him, but my tongue wouldn't obey, only choked. Incoherent sounds escaped my throat. Don't feel so wronged either, he continued to ramble. Mr. Thorne's place isn't some bad situation. He just likes your type. You'll live a life of luxury with him. Isn't that better than being with me? I'm doing this for both of our sakes, a win-win, get it? Win-win. You win my ass. The car sped through the darkness, the scenery outside the window a blur. I struggled to focus my eyes, trying to make out our direction, until the car slowly decelerated, finally pulling up to a massive, intricately carved iron gate. This place, this gate, this estate. My heart leaped. My hazy mind felt like it had been doused with ice water, clearing slightly in an instant. No way. It couldn't be. Brandon and his mom dragged me out of the car, one on each side, practically pulling me across the front lawn of the estate. My cashmere coat was disheveled and torn, my heels were long gone. 2 straight-backed men stood by the door, watching us approach with expressionless faces. Gentlemen, please inform Mr. Thorne. We truly couldn't raise the money, so we came up with a new way to settle the debt. Frank Miller bent at the waist, fawning over the men in black suits at the door. We've brought Mr. Thorne a New Year's gift. He's definitely going to like it. One of the men shined a flashlight beam across my face. The light stung my eyes, making me squint. His voice was flat. Yes, exactly. My son's girlfriend, Carol quickly chimed in, forcefully pulling my face straight. See? Doesn't she look exactly like the woman Mr. Thorne commemorates every year? We specifically found out about that. And she's a dancer, very graceful. She'll be attentive to his needs. My stomach lurched. The man was silent for a few seconds, then gestured to a subordinate nearby. Go inform him. He turned back to us. Whether it works out or not, I can't say. Just come inside and wait. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Brandon nodded profusely, bowing repeatedly, as he dragged me towards the main house. By the time I was pulled into the parlor on the first floor, my legs had given out. I collapsed onto the cold floor. Mr. Thorne is with a guest. Wait here. The man said, then left. As soon as the door closed, Brandon immediately crouched in front of me, a mix of anxiety and calculation on his face. Skylar, help me out just this once. He grabbed my shoulders and shook me. When Mr. Thorne comes, just say you came willingly. Please, I won't look down on you. I promise I'll treat you well afterward. I stared at him, unable to make a sound. Don't you dare stay silent. Carol also leaned in, her nails digging into my arm. If the Millers go down, you won't have it easy either. Brandon's your boyfriend, you should help him. Mom, don't scare her. Brandon faked a gentle reprimand, then turned back to me, softening his tone. Skylar, I know you're angry, but I really have no choice. $5 million. They'll kill me. The tranquilizer was slowly wearing off. I could feel my limbs regaining sensation, and my tongue could move again. I took a deep breath, finally choking out a raspy sentence. Get lost. I won't. What did you say? Brandon's face instantly darkened. He grabbed a handful of my hair, forcing me to look up at him. Skylar, I advise you to think carefully before you speak. A sharp pain shot through my scalp, but I gritted my teeth. I said I won't. This is a crime. I'm calling the police. Smack. A stinging slap landed hard on my face. My vision went black, my ears rang, and I tasted blood. You're ungrateful. Brandon snarled through gritted teeth. What do you think you are? You're just a dancer. It's your good fortune to be able to pay off my debt. Carol followed up with a kick. Exactly. Who are you to act so pure? It's an honor my son chose you. Not her face. Frank warned from the side. If you damage her face, we're all screwed. Brandon finally let go. I lay sprawled on the cold floor, gasping for air. Skylar, I'm asking you one last time. He crouched down, pinching my chin. Are you going to cooperate or not? I stared at him, enunciating each word. Absolutely not. Fine. Very well, Brandon sneered, standing up and walking towards me. Aren't you a dancer? Aren't you supposed to fulfill your mom's legacy? He lifted his foot and stomped down hard on my calf. The excruciating pain made me scream. If this leg breaks, what dance will you do then? He ground his foot down harder. I heard your mom's biggest wish before she died was to see you on an international stage. What a shame. Fear instantly consumed me. Mom was one of the nation's top dancers, but she passed away due to illness at the peak of her career. I had trained tirelessly in dance since childhood, all to honor her legacy. No, my voice began to tremble. Don't touch my leg. Now you're scared. Carol scoffed from the side. Weren't you tough a moment ago? Brandon took his foot off, then crouched down again. Then be a good girl and behave later. As long as you clear my debt, I'll still marry you. We'll go back to how things were. I closed my eyes, tears streaming down my face against my will. That's more like it, Carol said, satisfied. Go clean her up. She's a mess. How can she be presented like this? Brandon roughly dragged me off the floor, pulling me towards the private bathroom attached to the parlor. I can do it myself. I tried to struggle. Shut up. He shoved me into the bathroom. Your makeup's ruined. You look like a ghost. He grabbed my hair, forcing my face under the faucet. The cold water made me shiver violently, my makeup washing off in streaks. Brandon grabbed the hand soap from the sink and smeared it directly onto my face. I choked, coughing. Impeach. Stop. Clean her up properly. Mr. Thorne will want to see this face. She really does look like her. Damn. I only chased you because your face looks just like Mr. Thorne's woman. My heart sank completely. So that was it. 3 years of a relationship, just a calculated setup from the start. Brandon rinsed the foam from my face, then roughly wiped it dry with a towel. Then he started ripping my clothes. What are you doing? I screamed in horror, clutching my chest. These clothes are too conservative. You need something sexier. He pulled a low-cut black dress from his bag. Put it on. No. You won't. Brandon's eyes turned cold. Then don't blame me for helping you. He violently tore open the buttons of my cashmere coat. I shrieked and struggled, but he slapped me again with the back of his hand. Stay still. The bathroom door suddenly rattled. Carol's voice came through. Brandon, hurry. Mr. Thorne's men are here. Brandon froze, glaring at me viciously. You're lucky. He dragged me out of the bathroom, pushing me back onto the parlor carpet. The door opened. Several men in black suits walked in. The one at the front, in his early 30s, had a scar on his face and cold, dangerous eyes. Mr. Thorne will be here any minute, the man with the scar, Jax said, glancing at me. Cleaned up, perfectly clean. Frank quickly forced a smile. Jax, sir, take a look. Doesn't she look exactly like her? Jax took a few steps closer, crouching down to examine my face carefully. My heart pounded. Was this Jax, the new guy under my uncle? Victor had only mentioned him once, saying he'd only been with him for about 6 months, known for being ruthless, but still unfamiliar with family matters. I was doomed. He didn't recognize me at all. Jax stared at my face for a full 30 seconds, his expression shifting from scrutiny to something ancient and unsettling. Uncanny. Damn uncanny, he muttered. He reached out, his rough finger grazing my cheek. She's practically identical to the woman in the photos. My body went rigid. I managed to squeeze out a sound. Are you Jax? I'm. Smack. Another slap, harder than Brandon's. My head snapped to the side, blood oozing from the corner of my mouth. Who told you my name? Jax grabbed a handful of my hair, forcing me to look at him. You're just merchandise for debt, trying to pull rank on your grandpappy? No, I really am. Shut up. He clamped a hand around my neck. Say one more word, and I'll rip out your tongue. Suffocation gripped me. I clawed at his hand, but it was to no avail. The Miller stood frozen nearby, barely daring to breathe, fawning over Jax. Jax, sir, what about Mr. Thorne? Frank tentatively asked. Mr. Thorne is upstairs handling some business. He sent me down to check first. Jax released me and stood up. But I don't think this girl is very cooperative. He pulled out a cigarette, lit it, took a drag, then crouched down and flicked the ash onto my face. It's your good fortune that you look like someone Mr. Thorne admired, but don't think you can get away with anything just because of that face. He pinched my chin. Mr. Thorne hates it when people try to exploit his personal connections. You'd better know your place. I coughed violently, tears streaming down my face. I really am. I'm Victor's niece, please believe me. Still spewing nonsense. Jax roared in fury, kicking me hard in the stomach. I curled up in pain, felt like my organs were shifting. Do you really think I wouldn't know if Mr. Thorne had any siblings? Where would a niece come from? Jax sneered. What lies won't you spin just to climb the ladder? He gestured to a subordinate. Bring the liquor. A subordinate immediately handed him a bottle of vodka. Jax twisted off the cap, grabbed my chin, and started pouring it down my throat. The harsh liquor burned its way down my throat. I choked, my face flushing scarlet, alcohol streaming from my mouth, down my neck and soaking my clothes. Drink it. Finish it. Jax's expression was distorted. If Mr. Thorne comes and you dare to throw it up, I'll throw you into the deepest, darkest pits of our operations and let every one of the guys have their fill. He only released me after half the bottle was gone. I lay on the floor, dry heaving, my throat burning. My vocal cords felt shredded, unable to form a complete sound. Brandon looked uneasy. Jax, sir, if Mr. Thorne comes and she can't speak. Better if she can't speak. Jax glanced at him. Save her from talking nonsense. He crouched down again, grabbing my right hand. Pretty fingers, huh? I stared at him in horror. What a shame. He sneered, then suddenly twisted with force. Crack. My blood-curdling scream echoed through the entire parlor. My index finger bent at an unnatural angle. The excruciating pain made my vision go black. That's just one, Jax said, his tone light. If you don't behave, I'll break all 10 of your fingers. I convulsed in pain, tears and snot blurring my face. Mr. Thorne is here. A subordinate at the door suddenly announced. Jax immediately stood up, straightened his suit, and adopted a respectful expression. The Millers also quickly stood at attention, heads bowed, not daring to look around. The door opened. A tall figure walked in, dressed in a black coat, with cold and severe eyes, radiating an aura that screamed, "Keep your distance." It was my uncle, Victor. He scanned the parlor, his brows immediately furrowing. What's going on? It's a mess. Jax quickly stepped forward. Mr. Thorne, these people came to settle a debt, and they brought a woman. I told you, don't bring just anyone here. Victor's voice was icy. Clean it up. He said, then turned to leave. No, don't go. I used all my strength to push myself up, but my legs failed and I fell back to the floor, still unable to make a sound. My uncle's footsteps didn't falter. In desperation, I tore off the necklace my mother left me, the one around my neck. Then with my working left hand I threw it hard at Victor's feet. The metal struck the marble floor with a sharp clink. Victor's footsteps halted. He looked down, his gaze moving from the necklace on the floor to my bruised, tear-streaked face. His pupils constricted sharply. The silence in the parlor was suffocating, heavier than the moment before a storm breaks. The clink of the necklace seemed to echo endlessly. Victor stared at the delicate silver pendant. A swan with a sapphire eye. He knew that necklace. He had commissioned it for my mother 20 years ago, for her debut on the international stage. Slowly, terrifyingly slowly he turned. His eyes, usually as impenetrable as the ocean, were now wide, filled with a dawn of horrific recognition. He didn't look at Jax. He didn't look at the trembling Millers. His gaze was locked onto me like a laser. Skylar. The word was barely a whisper, a question asked of a ghost. My throat was raw, scorched by the vodka Jax had forced down it. I tried to speak, but only a strangled sob escaped. I held up my left hand, trembling, reaching for him. Victor moved. It wasn't a walk, it was a stride of pure, unadulterated panic. He crossed the room in 2 seconds, dropping to his knees beside me. He didn't care that his tailored pants hit the spilled alcohol and blood. His hands, known for signing death warrants and business deals with equal indifference, hovered over my face, shaking. He saw the bruises. He saw the blood at the corner of my mouth. He saw my twisted, broken finger. Skylar, he choked out, his voice cracking. He gently touched my cheek, avoiding the swollen red mark where Jax had slapped me. My God, little Sky. Behind him, I saw Jax's face drain of all color. It went from arrogant sneer to the ashen gray of a corpse in a single heartbeat. The cigarette fell from his lips, burning a hole in the expensive carpet. And Mr. Thorne? Jax stammered, his voice sounding thin and small. You know this merchandise? Victor went still. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. He didn't stand up. He didn't shout. He just slowly turned his head to look at Jax. The look in his eyes was not human. It was the look of a predator that had just found its prey in a trap. Merchandise. Victor repeated softly. He stood up, towering over his subordinate. You called my niece merchandise? Jax's knees buckled. He hit the floor with a thud. Niece? But you said you had no family left. Sir, I didn't know. They said she was payment for a debt. They said she looked like the woman you. The woman I commemorate every year is my sister. Victor roared, the sound shaking the crystal chandelier above us. Her mother. The Millers let out a collective gasp. Carol covered her mouth, her eyes bulging. Brandon looked like he was about to vomit. Frank Miller started to shake so violently his teeth chattered. Victor turned back to me, his expression softening instantly as he scooped me up into his arms. He held me like I was made of glass. Call Dr. Evans, he barked at the stunned guards at the door. Now. And seal the gates. No one leaves. He looked down at me, his eyes burning with unshed tears and a rage so deep it felt like a physical weight. I'm sorry, Skylar. I'm so sorry. I'm here now. I buried my face in his coat, smelling the familiar scent of sandalwood and tobacco, and finally, let the darkness take me. I woke up in a room that smelled of lavender and antiseptic. My leg was in a cast, my finger splinted, and my throat felt like I had swallowed razor blades. I was in Victor's guest suite, the one he kept for me, decorated in soft blues and creams. Victor was sitting in a chair by the bed, his head in his hands. He looked 10 years older than he had yesterday. His coat was gone, his shirt sleeves rolled up, revealing the tattoo on his forearm. Klabik. I raspat. His head snapped up. Relief washed over his face. Sky, don't try to talk. The doctor said your vocal cords are swollen. He poured a glass of warm water with a straw and held it to my lips. I drank greedily. How long? I whispered. 2 days, he said. His face hardened. The doctor set your finger. It will heal, but you might need physical therapy to get the full range of motion back for dancing. A tear slipped down my cheek. Dancing was my life. It was Mom's dream. Victor wiped the tear away with his thumb. We will get the best specialists. I will fly in surgeons from Switzerland if I have to. You will dance again, Skylar. I promise. He stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the sprawling estate. As for the rest, his voice dropped an octave. They are in the basement. A chill ran down my spine. The basement of the Thorne estate was a place of rumors and nightmares. Jax, Victor said, spitting the name like a curse. He tried to beg. He said he was protecting my interests. He broke your finger, Skylar. He poured cheap vodka down your throat. He turned to look at me, his eyes devoid of mercy. He will never use his hands again. And he will never speak again. I made sure of it. I shuddered, but I didn't feel pity. Jax had enjoyed hurting me. He had reveled in it. And, Brandon? I asked. Victor's expression shifted to something more complex. Disgust mixed with a cold, calculating fury. The Millers are guests. For now, I wanted you to decide. He walked back to the bed and sat down, taking my uninjured hand. They sold you, Skylar. For $5 million. That boy. He looked me in the eye and told me you were a gift. He drugged you. I closed my eyes, remembering Brandon's face in the car. It's win-win. Don't blame me. I want to see them, I said. Victor hesitated. You don't have to. I can handle it. They can just disappear. No, I opened my eyes. I want to see them. I need them to know who they sold. Victor nodded slowly. Very well. Get some rest. Tonight we host a dinner. I was dressed in a velvet gown that covered my bruises, but left my splinted hand visible. I sat at the head of the long dining table, to Victor's right. The dining room was dimly lit. The long mahogany table was set with fine china and silver, but there was no food. The doors opened. 2 guards dragged the Millers in. They looked wrecked. Frank had a black eye. Carol's hair was a rat's nest. Brandon was weeping openly, his face snot-streaked and pale. They were thrown to the floor in front of us. When they looked up and saw me sitting there, clean, dressed in luxury, with the most dangerous man in the city pouring me tea, they froze. Skylar. Brandon scrambled to his knees. Skylar, baby. Oh, thank God you're okay. I was so worried. I told them to be gentle. I didn't know Jax was crazy. Shut up, Victor said calmly. He didn't raise his voice, but Brandon's mouth snapped shut instantly. Victor took a sip of his wine. You sold my niece for $5 million. We didn't know. Carol wailed. We didn't know she was your niece. If we knew, we would have treated her like a princess. Skylar, tell him. We treated you well for 3 years. Treated me well? I asked, my voice raspy but clear in the silent room. You kicked me while I was down, Carol. You told Brandon to break my leg so I wouldn't run. Carol turned white. I was just, emotions were high. And you, I looked at Brandon. My boyfriend of 3 years. You said I should be grateful. You said it was a win-win. Brandon crawled forward, reaching for the hem of my dress. A guard kicked him back. Sky, please. I was in debt. The loan sharks, they were going to kill me. I panicked. I love you. I did it to save us. To save us. I laughed, a dry, humorless sound. You did it to save your hands. Speaking of which. I looked at Victor. Victor signaled to a man in the shadows. He stepped forward, placing a heavy metal briefcase on the table. He opened it. Inside were stacks of cash. $5 million. This is the debt you owed, Victor said. I paid it off this morning. The loan sharks won't be bothering you anymore. Brandon's eyes lit up with hope. You paid it? Oh, thank you, Mr. Thorne. Thank you. Skylar, I knew you still loved me. However, Victor continued, ignoring him. I don't give charity. I bought the debt. Now you owe me. The hope vanished from Brandon's face. $5 million, Victor mused. Plus interest. Plus damages for kidnapping, assault, and emotional distress to my family. Let's call it $10 million. We don't have that kind of money. Frank cried. I know, Victor smiled thinly. But you have assets. He pulled a document from his pocket. Your house. Your cars. Your savings. I've already seized them. My lawyers are very efficient. You are destitute, Mr. Miller. But that's not enough to cover $10 million, Victor noted. So we have to look at physical collateral. He looked at Brandon. You said you were afraid they would chop your hands off? Brandon started to hyperventilate. No, no, please. It seems like a fitting punishment, Victor said thoughtfully. You used those hands to drug my niece. To drag her here. To hurt her. He slid a knife across the table. It spun, coming to a rest pointing at Brandon. But I am not a savage, Victor said. I will give you a choice. A game. He pointed to the glass of wine in front of Brandon. One glass. It contains the same drug you gave Skylar, but concentrated. If you drink it, you pass out. When you wake up, you will be on a boat to the same mine in Africa where Skylar's father is rotting. You will work off your debt there. It will take maybe 40 years. Brandon stared at the glass in horror. Or, Victor pointed to the knife. You take the hand of the person who suggested this plan. The person who told you to sell Skylar. Brandon looked at his mother. Carol shrieked. Brandon, don't you dare. I'm your mother. I gave birth to you. She told you to do it, didn't she? Victor asked softly. She told you Skylar was just a girl, that she was expendable. She did. Brandon screamed, turning on his mother. It was her idea. She said Skylar was an orphan, that no one would miss her. She said we could get the money and leave the country. Liar. Carol clawed at his face. You coward. You wanted the money for your gambling. They fought on the floor, rolling around like animals. It was pathetic. It was disgusting. Enough, I said. They froze. I don't want his hands, I said to Victor. And I don't want them in Africa. Victor raised an eyebrow. Mercy, Skylar? No, I said coldly. Justice. I looked at Brandon. You wanted a wealthy life? You wanted to be free of debt? Fine. I turned to Victor. Let them go. Victor looked surprised, but he nodded. If that is your wish. But, I added, blacklist them. Every bank. Every employer. Every landlord. Ensure that no one in this city, no in this country, will ever hire them, rent to them, or loan them a penny. Let them keep their hands. Let them keep their freedom. But let them starve. I leaned forward, looking into Brandon's eyes. You wanted to survive at my expense. Now let's see how you survive when you have nothing. No money. No home. No friends. Just each other, blaming each other for the rest of your miserable lives. Victor smiled. It was a genuine smile of pride. A fate worse than death. Very Thorne of you, my dear. He snapped his fingers. Get them out of my sight. Dump them in the slums. As the guards dragged them away, screaming and cursing each other, I didn't look away. I watched until the doors closed. The recovery was long. My finger healed, but the flexibility was compromised. The doctor said professional ballet was unlikely. I spent days in the studio at the estate, staring at the bar, trying to bend my finger, tears of frustration stinging my eyes. Victor would watch from the doorway, silent and supportive. He never pushed, but he never let me give up either. One afternoon, 6 months later, I was sitting on the floor, massaging my hand. It's not working, I whispered. I can't hold the poses. The line is broken. Victor walked in. He handed me a folder. Open it. Inside were acceptance letters. Not for a dance company, but for the Royal Academy of Arts. And a deed to a building in the city center. If you cannot dance the way you used to, Victor said gently, then teach. Or choreograph. Or run the damn company. Your mother wanted you to be happy, Skylar. Not just a performer. The building. A studio. Yours. The Thorne Academy of Dance. Or Skylar's place. Whatever you want. He sat down beside me. You have a fire in you, Sky. I saw it that night. You didn't break. You survived. That strength. That's more valuable than a perfect pirouette. I looked at the deed. A new dream began to form. Not of me in the spotlight, but of me shaping the light for others. 3 years later. It was New Year's Eve again. Snow was falling gently outside the floor-to-ceiling windows of my studio. Inside, the music was swelling. A dozen young girls in white tutus were rehearsing for the spring gala. I walked among them, correcting a posture here, lifting a chin there. My fingers still ached when it rained, a constant reminder. But I didn't hide the slight crookedness. It was a battle scar. The door opened. Victor walked in, shaking snow off his coat. He looked older, a touch of gray at his temples, but just as imposing. Ready for dinner? He asked. Almost, I smiled. Dismissed girls. Happy New Year. They cheered and scattered. As I grabbed my coat, Victor handed me a tablet. Thought you might want an update. On the screen was a grainy photo taken from a distance. It showed a homeless shelter in the grittiest part of the city. 2 figures were huddled over a trash can fire. One was a woman, old before her time, missing teeth. Carol. The other was a man, thin and gaunt, missing 2 fingers on his left hand. Likely from a loan shark he couldn't pay, or a fight over food. Brandon. They looked miserable. Broken. They tried to leave the city, Victor said. But without ID or money, they didn't get far. Frank died last winter. Pneumonia. I looked at the photo. I felt nothing. No joy. No anger. Just indifference. They were ghosts of a past life. Let's go, I said, handing the tablet back. I'm starving. We walked out to the car. The city was bright with lights. By the way, Victor said as he opened the door for me. Jax died in prison last week. A shank in the showers. Okay, I said. Victor chuckled. You've gotten cold, Skylar. I learned from the best, I teased, linking my arm with his. As the car pulled away, heading toward the warmth of the estate, I looked out at the falling snow. Brandon had said it was a win-win. He was right in a way. He got the life he deserved. And I got the life I was meant to have. I touched the silver swan necklace at my throat. Happy New Year, Mom. I was safe. I was strong. And I was finally, truly, dancing to my own rhythm.